So we have competing offers on maternity and paternal leave from the Liberals and Conservatives today. So let's drill down a little bit on those campaign promises and what they might mean for Canadian families. Lindsay Tedds is an associate professor and scientific director of fiscal and economic policy at the School of Public Policy at the University of Calgary. Good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay, let's start with the Liberal plan announced today and this promise to make maternity and parental benefits tax exempt at source. What's the significance of that tax exempt at source part?
Well, it is interesting language that I have to admit we still need some details on implementation to understand the full consequences of it. We know at a minimum, it means that anybody earning maternity or parental benefits will receive the full income in their bank accounts when they actually are earning it. No taxes will be withheld, and more importantly, no taxes will be owed on that income. And so that takes away all of the tax liability at the federal level. What I'm very interested in seeing is whether or not this means they're changing the definition of taxable income. And if they are, that actually means there will be no provincial tax on this as well.
That's a big question, isn't it?
It is a very big question and a very important question.
Okay, I want to circle back to that, but let me go to the Conservatives now, because they're promising something similar, tax-free maternity and parental leave benefits through a non-refundable tax credit of 15%. So what's the difference between that offer and what we're hearing from the Liberals?
Okay, so we're still trying, again, sort out the details with the Conservative Party announcement. That a non-refundable tax credit paid at 15% does not make these benefits tax-free for all women. So in particular, women who have earned a higher income before they go off on parental leave and are getting the parental top-ups from their employers are going to be paying higher than a 15% tax rate on their income. So for those women, the Conservative Party announcement will only offset some of the income tax owed on that income, not all of it. And unless they start with modifying withholding requirements, Services Canada will still be holding back the tax when it's paid, and then you'll only get that benefit at tax time. But we're still waiting to see those details of whether or not they're going to adjust the withholding as well.
Yeah, so okay, that's interesting. So I hope I'm going to ask the right question here. So if I understand what you're saying correctly, how would that apply to the Liberal plan? If the Liberals are giving you the money up front, but it still counts as income, wouldn't that be treated largely the same way as the Conservative plan at the end of the day? So if you're a higher income earner, if it still counts as income, what's the difference there?
No, so the Liberals are making it tax exempt. So what that means is you will not pay your marginal tax, your statutory tax rate on it at all, period. There's no waiting until you file taxes. There's none of this issues of not being able to derive the full benefit and then having to carry it forward for several years, which is what would happen under the Conservative plan. The Liberal plan, it's simpler, it's easier to understand, and parents will actually get all of the full benefits in the years that they are actually on parental and maternity leave, which is when they face the reduced income.
So what are the consequences? You touched on it. Let's come back to that. You touched on, so if it's not, I mean, there's two things here. I mean, how it's treated as income or not for the purposes of the tax form, I guess, and whether or not, how does this apply to the provincial portion of your taxes then on that income earned?
Well, that's what we have to try to understand. The use of the phrase tax exempt in the backgrounder is, I think it's to allow them some flexibility here to determine how it's going to sort of appear on your tax form. Now, another interesting and I think unintended consequence is because that maternity and parental leave benefits under that Liberal plan will not be taxable, it means that any parents earning employer top-ups when they are off on leave will also be facing a lower tax rate on that income because that EI, maternity and parental leave, is no longer factoring into their tax rates. So there is there's more benefit here than people are talking about.
And could there be consequences as well in all of this for the Canada Child Benefit and how that's calculated?
Yes, so that's an excellent point. Again, not knowing exactly what line on the tax form, I know the tax form is really, really complicated, but what line that this income will appear and when it will disappear matters a lot for all of these different kinds of benefits. And if it comes out, then families with young children will actually be qualifying for higher Canada Child Benefit payments, as well as the GST-HST tax credit.
Interesting. Okay, let me get your views, your thoughts on a couple of other things that were announced today. The Liberals also committing to bringing in 15 weeks of leave for new adoptive parents. How significant is that?
Well, this has been something that has been talked about for a while. Adoptive parents don't qualify for maternity leave, which is the first 15 weeks that a birth parent gets. And it's actually considered to be medical leave because, giving birth is not a simple process. So adoptive parents only qualified for the 35 weeks. So in a way to kind of ensure that all parents have the same amount of time with their child after they, geez, I'm going to be an economist and say acquire their child. But once the child appears in the house, they'll both have the same amount of time available. I just have some concerns because the parent, the woman who has given birth to the child, it's not like those first couple of weeks that you're happy and taking care of the child. A lot of women after birth actually stay in the hospital. I was in the hospital for a week after I gave birth. I'm not able to care for my child. So, we still have some inequities, but this certainly brings us much closer.
All right, let's finish on this. Also the promise today from the Liberals to work with the provinces to create a guaranteed paid family leave for parents who don't qualify for EI benefits. What do you think of that? That sounds like it might touch a lot of people in this country who aren't covered. That would be a big change, wouldn't it?
To be honest, that's the one I'm more excited about. This is a really interesting feature. I mean, the problem with delivering parental and maternity benefits through the EI system is you have to have had the right kind of work, the right number of hours, the right amount of income in order to qualify for it. And so we know about 15 to 20% of parents are not able to benefit from the existing maternity and parental leave. So repackaging it so that business owners, the self-employed, minimum wage earners, part-time workers, a whole host of workers would now be able to qualify for maternity and parental benefits so that they are able to use that time to spend time with their kids when they are very, very young, which is very informative. It will probably also increase breastfeeding rates. These are all really interesting things. The part that we don't know is what minimum income floor level they're going to bring everybody up to. And that'll be interesting to watch these discussions play out.
And I guess the other thing to watch for is how easily this can be negotiated with the provinces, which is always a challenge. But
this one will be easy.
That's maybe for another conversation. Lindsay Tedds, thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.